So I already tried to do this once. I am doing my project on the Diary of Anne Frank. I hope I will be able to confide everything to you as I have never been able to confide in anyone, and I hope you will be a great source of comfort and support. Anne Frank was a young Jewish German girl who lived in Amsterdam. Shortly after the Second World War began, the Nazis invaded the Netherlands and restrictions were placed on Jewish people. They actually moved to Amsterdam because at the time, whenever the Nazis were invading Germany specifically, the party was gaining a ton of support because it looked like the best option and there were tons of promises. But anyway, they advocated against the Jewish population, and this basically created restrictions whenever, well, everywhere they invaded, there were restrictions. They were not allowed to go to parks, they couldn't go to cinemas, they couldn't even go into non-Jewish shops. So if it was marked as non-Jewish or no Jewish people allowed, you couldn't go in there. Jewish people couldn't even own their own businesses, by the way. There were also things like Jewish schools, and a lot of people had to wear the Star of David on their clothing. In July of 1942, her family went into hiding, along with 4 others. Those living there consisted of Edith and Otto Frank, Margot and Anne Frank, and then in the book, they were called Petronella Hermann and Peter Van Dan and Albert Dussel. The names were changed to have some kind of privacy whenever it was originally written. However, you can just look it up and find out their real names. Before going into hiding, Anne was actually given a diary, and on August 4th, 1944, the 8 people living in the annex were arrested and they were sent to concentration camps. The diary was written in the secret annex. Most of it was anyway. I do believe that the vast majority of it was, except for the first couple of entries. Anne had just turned 13 whenever she received her diary, and during those 2 years of hiding, which she spent 2 of her birthdays in, Anne wrote about events in the secret annex, but also about her feelings and thoughts. She would also write things like short stories, or she would copy down poems and things that she liked from the books that were in the secret annex. All of Anne's diary entries were written to Kitty, but it is unclear as to who Kitty actually was. This slide is a visual representation of where the annex was and what the group of 8 saw daily. The top left is the kitchen, bottom left is where the annex was located, top right is the staircase that leads to the kitchen along with a bed and a desk, and then the bottom right is the entrance to the secret annex. There were actually a couple of rooms that had beds, but I did not include that. After they were arrested, one of the Dutch citizens who helped to keep them hidden found Anne's diaries scattered across the annex. She gathered them and hid them from the police. When Otto returned to Amsterdam after the war, she gave the diaries to him. In 1945, Anne passed away due to exhaustion, which has been notably said to be typhus. And that's exactly what her sister died of just a couple of days before she had died. It is said that the exact date of Anne's death is unknown, but it is thought that she had died in either February or March. In 1947, Otto Franks published the diary, and one of the main reasons for publishing the journal was because of him reading over the entries he had seen where Anne had often said she had actually wanted to be an author, so to fulfill that request of hers, he published her diary. So, why ideas about banning the book have been raised. Sexual content. Yeah, you read that right. You heard that right. Many of the complaints about this book have nothing to do with the fact that Anne is hiding from persecution. Instead, the complaints are about Anne growing up and recording her feelings and growing pains, and the fact that she is a growing girl. The fact that she, at the time of her arrest, was only 15. In a few of her entries, Anne writes about her changing anatomy, and it is seen as sexual content. According to the American Library Association, many of the bans that they have dealt with are based around sexual content. More recently, these complaints have been about 2010 and 2013. But, however, there is a Lebanese militant group that called for a ban on the book due to it being an apologist work, and I will get onto that more in a couple slides. Places the book has been banned, and the reason for the quotations is because it is to signify that fortunately most of the bans did not stick. Virginia, Alabama, and Michigan have tried to ban this book, and in Lebanon the book has been banned from some of the private schools due to the terrorist group I had mentioned. Terrorist group Hezbollah of Lebanon have wanted the book banned and succeeded in some of the private schools within the country. It has been said that the organization tends to censor information that it does not like. According to the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, Hezbollah, which Israel and the United States consider a terrorist group, called the diary's inclusion of an open arena for the Zionist invasion of education. And Zionism is the idea that being Jewish is not only a religion, but it is also a nationality. And, well, the organization believes that Anne's diary is religious propaganda. This organization believes that Anne's diary is propaganda. And if that doesn't, say how crazy this ban is, gosh. There was also a mother in Michigan who believed that the content was too pornographic for her daughter, her 7th grade daughter. Anne was 2 years older than her 7th grade daughter whenever she got the diary. Yeah. 7th graders are literally 11 and 12 years old. Anne was 13 when she got her diary. And then Culpeper County Schools in Virginia restricted the reading of the regular version of Anne Frank's diary due to sexual and homosexual themes, which, if you are a human being, you know that no matter what, you are going to explore these themes on your own. There's no point in a ban because it's going to happen no matter what. Why a ban would create a significant problem. Anne Frank's story is extremely important. I think we've already covered that. For it to be banned, it would be stripping thousands of children from reading and learning a firsthand experience about hiding during the Second World War. Anne's story is one that many will never be able to experience themselves, and I really hope that many will not ever experience this, and sadly that is not the case in today's day and age, especially in China, but I'm not getting into that right now. Anne's story is one that many will never be able to experience themselves. Like I said, literature can help to liberate children and adults alike and help them to learn about what had been and give them hope for a better future, much like Anne often noted in her book. And unfortunately, even though this book does exist, it seems like we are slipping into a situation where we were repeating history. And you can find that out if you just research it. But the controversies that surround Anne Frank's book have nothing to do with the fact that it's historical. It has stuff to do with the fact that children will go through this no matter what. Children will have sexual fantasies. They will want to talk about what's happening and what is changing in their bodies. It is human. And just a reminder, Anne was a child. Banning her book would be silencing the voices that so many advocate for sharing. A ban on something like a sexual diary entry is altogether crazy on its own way. You can't ban something because of a sexual theme because you feel like your daughter is uncomfortable. But I suppose that's the whole reason this project was created, to show how ridiculous the ban was. This is my works cited, and this is the end of my presentation.